When you call on a person's name, you get their attention, you get their person. This is exactly what happens when you call on the name of the Lord. You get his person, you get all that he is, you get all that he has. Welcome back to another Back to the Basics video, and today we're going to talk about calling on the name of the Lord. So what do we mean by calling on the name of the Lord? Some Christians think that calling on the name of the Lord is the same as praying to him. Yes, calling is a kind of prayer, but the Hebrew word for call means to invoke a person, to cry out, to call a person by name. In other words, it is to call a person by naming him audibly. Although prayer may be silent, calling must be audible. There are many instances in the Bible where someone called on the name of the Lord. In the Old Testament, calling on the Lord began in the third generation of the human race with Enosh, the son of Seth. The history of calling on the Lord's name continued throughout the Bible with Abraham, Isaac, Moses, Job, Jabez, Samson, Samuel, David, Jonah, Elijah, and Jeremiah. Not only did the Old Testament believers call on the Lord, they even prophesied that others would call on his name. Calling on the name of the Lord was practiced by the New Testament believers also, beginning on the day of Pentecost. While Stephen was being stoned to death, he was calling Lord Jesus. The New Testament believers practiced calling on the Lord. Saul of Tarsus received authority from the chief priests to bind all that called on the name of the Lord. This indicates that all the early believers were Jesus callers. Their calling on the name of the Lord was a sign, a mark, that they were Christians. If we become those who call on the name of the Lord, our calling will mark us out as Christians. Paul the Apostle stressed the matter of calling when he wrote the book of Romans. He said, "For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same Lord is Lord of all and rich to all who call upon him. For whoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." Throughout the Old Testament, as well as in the early days of the Christian age, the believers called on the Lord's name. We believe that today the Lord wants to recover calling on his name and to have us practice this, that we may enjoy all the riches of his life. Why do we need to call on the name of the Lord? Man needs to call on the name of the Lord in order to be saved. The way of praying quietly does help people to be saved, but not so richly. The way of calling loudly helps people to be saved in a richer, more thorough way. Psalm 116 tells us that we may partake of the Lord's salvation by calling on him. I will take the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. Call upon his name. Cry out. Give a ringing shout. Try shouting before him. If you have never shouted about what the Lord is to you, try it. The more you shout, "Oh Lord Jesus, you are so good to me," the more you will be released from yourself and be filled with the Lord. How should we call on the Lord? We must call on him out of a pure heart. Our heart, which is the source of our calling, must be pure, seeking nothing except the Lord himself. Also, we must call with a pure lip. We need to watch our speech, for nothing contaminates our lips more than loose talk. If our lips are impure due to loose talk, it will be difficult for us to call on him. We need to open our mouth wide to call on the Lord. Furthermore, we need to call on the Lord with other people. We need to come together for the purpose of calling on the name of the Lord. Psalm 88:9 says, "Lord, I have called daily upon thee." Hence we should call daily upon his name. Furthermore, Psalm 116 verse 2 says, "Therefore will I call upon him as long as I shall live." As long as we live, we should call on the name of the Lord. Calling on the name of the Lord is not merely a doctrine. It is very practical. We need to practice it daily and hourly. We should never stop our spiritual breathing. We hope that many more of the Lord's people, especially new believers, will begin the practice of calling on the Lord. Today, many Christians have found that they can know Him, that they can be brought into the power of His resurrection, that they can experience His spontaneous salvation, and that they can walk in oneness with Him by calling on His name. In any situation, at any time, call Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord Jesus. If you practice calling on His name, you will see that it is a wonderful way to enjoy the Lord's riches.